Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I just wanted to touch upon mastering your frame, discipline, focus, and growth. In this day and age where there's so many distractions, and whether it's in person or online, there's always something tugging and pulling at us for our attention, for our energy, for our resources. And that's something that you need to 100% be aware of, because there's a lot of moments where you will be challenged with dividing up your energy and attention to different things. And that's really important, and I wanted to speak on that because it's part of having good health, is knowing when to guard your energy or knowing when to invest energy in anything. And that's a huge aspect that's going to lead to positive results. So yeah, let's begin. Internal sovereignty. So what is the sovereignty? I think sovereignty in general is being able to design your mental environment and being able to acclimate or to adjust to different scenarios or situations. We're not always going to be in the greatest positions, for as much as you can try to control every single variable or situation that you're in. I think controlling how you react to things is a big part of this. Controlling your peace might sound like it's a hard task, but it's definitely an asset. I've noticed that if you can control how you react to any given situation, whether it's positive or negative, you can take a lot from anything and kind of frame it into a positive or into something that is giving you a lesson or giving you some kind of insight or knowledge. And that's a huge way to make sure that you're winning from any situation that arises. Sometimes not every action requires a reaction. I think that's a lot of us can be impulsive, or we can never not have the last word. But I think you need to have some restraint sometimes. There's a lot of maturity involved in that, and not just blurting out the first thing that comes out to your brain, or just instinctually reacting to something is not always the best choice. Sometimes not saying anything is a really good choice. And especially if it lets you maintain control of your well-being, of your peace, of your frequency, however you choose to look at it. Really important, super important. Because you can be doing good for yourself, doing a lot of positive habits. You could be in a really good place in your process, and for some reason, you got to learn to spot the bait, where you will have agents of chaos who you're not always aware of. You don't always know where it's coming from, where someone will try to bait you into energetically battling them, or however you choose to see it. Basically being rage baited or trolled. Maybe not intentionally, but it can have that energy of like, oh, well, you're too happy, or you're too focused on what you're doing, so now I have to. This person or this energy feels compelled to drag you into another frequency, or a frequency of lack of not where you want to be, basically. So big energy shifts designed to trigger you, and you got to refuse to provide the fuel for rage baiters or those power struggles, mainly because they're energetically taxing and you don't want to be in too many of those exchanges, especially if you don't have to be. I think life will put us in enough situations where we have to participate in situations that can be very draining or taxing on ourselves. So just choosing your battles wisely. Energy management. Managing your life force. So this speaks to the idea that your time and focus are your primary capital, and you have to invest them only in work or things that yield compounding growth. What that means is you have to be very choosy or very selective of where you invest this energy. So that means that you really need to pick wisely. And that's not always an easy thing. There's a lot of factors and variables that will make you invest in or make you feel like you're being dragged down or bogged down by some kind of external force. And I think that's where you have to not waste your time or your energy. It could be capital of many different ways, different types of capital, right? You have actual physical, financial, let's say, assets, or your time can be viewed as capital. Your emotional energy can be viewed as capital. So you would be compromised in those situations, and you have to be really careful of where you pivot and what you discard. You can't be too how do I say, you can't just throw things away too easily and without repercussions, is what I'm trying to get at. You have to be aware that every action has a reaction and move accordingly. But at the same time, you can't be afraid to move on, to discard things that are not efficient or not working in your favor. I've also seen that as well, where people are afraid to move on from a relationship or a friendship or a job or anything, where it feels like they can't move on from something because the safe choice would be to stay and endure whatever they're enduring because it's familiar, and it's a hard choice for most people to make, I would say. I suffer from, I guess, both sides, where I can be what some would claim as reckless, but if I feel like my energy is compromised or I'm not valued enough, then I will immediately leave and discard an option. But at the same time, you want to be smart with how you move. But you want to maintain a lock on whatever your goals or missions are. You have to have that vision for your life, for your intention. Not everyone is super locked into what they want to do, or they have a super defined intention set or a purpose. So if that's the case, I would say putting a lot of energy into that naturally, doing the right things to try and figure out what is your vision, what is your goal, your purpose, Sometimes it comes to you. I think having the right flow state is everything. If you're not aware, or if you don't think in those terms, then maybe you can start to think of scenarios and situations and just contemplate or meditate on them. And that will lead you in the right direction. But reacting to immediate or temporary disruptions only pulls you away from your long-term goal. So that's that. The reset mechanism. Active restoration. So I like to do a lot of fasting and prayer. There's a lot of different levels to both. I don't think you have to fast for multiple days at a time if you don't want to. I think if you do have the disposition to do that, there's a lot of benefits to doing even shorter windows of fasting. So I think a lot of it is just choosing the appropriate fasting windows. For some reason, I think there's some kind of science to it, or there's some kind of spiritual factor involved in fasting as well, in not being so encumbered by anything in your system, like fasting from energetic fasts of not watching anything or not consuming any kind of video content or audio content, even radio. That can be also a form of fasting besides just the food aspect. That combined with prayer, I think, is always a really positive and super mindful way to restore yourself. It's incredibly therapeutic to me. I think they're incredibly proactive maintenance tools to clear your nervous system and the exterior noise, or even the internal noise. Again, not everyone has the ability to just go up and walk around a beach or some kind of hike or a trail or a quiet place, some kind of sanctuary where you can take the time to reboot, even if it's just like doing a cardio 30-minute walk. I think is super beneficial, and it goes hand in hand with the energy maintenance and being able to kind of decompress from anything, whether it's work problems, familial problems, or relationship problems, or even just frustrations. Don't necessarily have to be problems, but yeah, develop the discipline to sit with them, with the emotions that you experience from them, without letting them drive your decisions, where we can be more regulated in our responses. Super important. I think we've all been there, where you get into an argument and it kind of affects the way we treat ourselves internally, or our internal dialogue becomes different. Somehow it kind of shifts our energy, our perspective. Some people are more empathic than others. You can absorb those kind of energies, whether they're good or bad, and it kind of affects you. So being able to kind of redirect and readjust your compass in that way is super important and very powerful. And also, I think there's that expression. There's an element of being able to alchemize a negative experience or a positive experience into something. Whether you make art or you make content or whatever it is, if you do make something, you got to look at it as that's the bridge to your audience's relatability, and having something to speak from experiences is everything. Not only does it make you a better person, but living through things and experiencing things that maybe are difficult or more challenging, or just living through amazing times or beautiful things, it gives you something where to pull from. You have something to speak from, and not just like theoretical rhetoric. It can be positive if you choose to look at it in a positive light. Personal standards. Living by the code. So I think with this, I wanted to just express the desire to have uncompromised goals and pursuing your path, regardless of any kind of external validation that you might feel you need, or others' attempts to kind of derail you or impose their mark on whatever you're doing. I don't know why humans are coded like this, but it's very common. Well, you'll have someone who somehow wants to just affect what you're doing for whatever reason. I think setting boundaries for what you do and not being made to feel like you're doing something wrong, or that you're like being high maintenance or something like that, or just setting up those boundaries, protecting your boundaries, protecting your energy from anything that interferes with your workflow, or degrades the quality of your thoughts. Even super important, that integrity of your process. It's like not having your energy tainted or your process tainted is going to lead to a more conducive environment to where you will make better things, because better energy is surrounding you. So maintaining that quality of your environment, your ambience, very important. Natural reciprocity. Positive growth creates success as a natural result. Don't fight for validation, focus on quality, and let the results flow. Yeah, that's huge. Not fighting for validation, energetically being aligned with what you focus on is really important. It might seem very obvious to other people, but I think it's super, it feels supernatural when it does happen. Because you don't feel like you're trying so hard, and you're not like forcing something. You're not swimming upstream. You're kind of going in the natural direction of where the energy is going, where it's flowing. So that in itself, I think it speaks for itself. It's super important. Being in the flow state, I can't express how important that is. I think you'll hear a lot of people speaking of flow state, and you can do your own research on that, but clearly there must be something to it. And a lot of this could be described as just flow state and being in tune with your thoughts and what you do and what you speak into reality. So yeah, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed this talk, and I hope to catch you back on the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and love.